Good afternoon. What I want to do today is I'm trying to get my beehives ready for winter. And in doing that, I'm going to build a candy box. Um, you feed the bees liquid all summer long, a sugar water mixture. But during the winter, they don't seem to want to take that, and also it'll freeze up on you. So, what I'm doing, I'm building a candy box. And what it'll do, it will go right on top of the hive, in between the top box and the brood box. And I'll show you that when we're done. But all it really requires, I've got a little scrap lumber, a little bit of time, pretty easy to do. And what I did, I measured these out, and I cut 3 inches, and this one is 18 and a quarter, 18 and a quarter, and then I've got two pieces that are 13 and 3/4 inch. You can do all kinds of miter cuts and this and that and the other, but what I'm going to do is just a simple, I guess what they call a butt joint. Um, Looks a little like this, where we're going to put it here. We'll take a video of how we do it. The butt joint, it goes on the end, each end, and it's just a box that's going to set right on top of your hive. And in here, I'm going to put a piece of hardware cloth. It's wire, but what you want is you want 1/2 inch wire. Okay, there's a lot of different sizes on wires, but the reason that I'm saying 1/2 inch wire is because that is large enough the bees can go up through the wire without catching their wings and getting any wear and tear on their wings. Also, with this one, so that I did not have to miter out handles to pick it up on either end, I just made a couple little handles out of some spare wood I had, and I'm going to attach them on each end like that. And the other thing that I've made is just little blocks to give the bees access to the honey. And when I actually put the sugar in here, it's a mixture of sugar, a little bit of water, and vinegar. We'll do a second video on that whenever we put the sugar in here. But you put these little blocks, one in each corner, and then you fill it with sugar. And then once it's dry, you pull these blocks out so that it gives the bees access and they can come up and feed on the sugar. But what I'm going to do here today is I'm just going to show you how to put these together. We're going to glue them and nail them, and then we're going to take and we're going to put our hardware cloth inside. I'll take this off so you can see a little bit better. But what I want to do is I'm going to end up with this about 1/2 inch from the bottom, like that. About 1/2 inch, and I'll staple it inside here. That way when I do my honey or my sugar, it won't droop down. It'll stay up off of the bottom. And then I'll show you once we're done putting it together, I'll set it on top of a honey box just to show you how it will look. And then, like I said, the next video will actually make the candy for you. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do, as I said, this is a butt joint. One thing you want to make sure when you measure this is you want the short pieces on the ends, and you want the long pieces on the side. Okay, so that will fit exactly on top of your beehive. What I'm going to do to get started here, I'm just going to take a little bit of wood glue. This glue I found so far to work very, very well. It's Tybold, and I bought this at Home Depot, and it seems to work very, very well for outside wood projects. So we're just going to put a little bit right there. And line this up on the corner. And I also brought a square with me, so once we've nailed it, I'm going to square it and then we'll leave it set for about 30 minutes. You can do it several ways. You can put in small nails, or if you have a nailer, fortunately I have an air gun and a nailer, and it works perfect. So what I do is I nail the first one, kind of line up the top, make sure it's straight. Put in my second nail. You know, like I said, you can use regular, nails or screws. You don't need a lot, because this is, it's not like a big honey box or hive. You're not going to be putting a lot of weight in it. You're going to be putting 16 pounds of sugar in it though. So you do want it to be fairly strong. Just grab a little cloth here, wipe off any excess glue. You don't need that. You want to make sure you get these corners exact. And then once we're done with it, we'll end up painting it, but we'll make sure to use a good exterior paint. And you do not paint the inside, just the outside. There we go. So for now, we're done with the nailer. Wipe off any excess glue that I've got here. I kind of take my square and make sure that these corners are all square. If not, this is the perfect time to give it a little bump or adjustment. We are good. So that's done. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take, and what I did, I took the screen and just took a pair of tin snips and measured the distance inside and the length and the width, and then I did it so that I've got 2 inches. This material is 2 inches wider and longer than the inside of this box. The reason being is I turned up about 1 inch on each side and on each end, so that when it fits down in, then I have somewhere to staple. And as I mentioned, you want to do this so that it's about 1/2 inch off of the bottom. And it fits nice and snug. You might want to actually even wear a pair of gloves. I found that out this morning. This wire's kind of sharp. So I've got my wire down in there. I'm going to take these little blocks just for the fun of it and use them to make sure I've got a 1/2 inch underneath my wire. As you can see, I'm just setting them in. I pushed it down just a little more than a 1/2 inch, and now using the block, I'm bringing it back up to a 1/2 inch from the bottom. The reason being is you don't want this setting directly on your frames on your hive. We'll put in a little spacer, and I'll show you that when we're done here, but I put it about a 1/2 inch because you're also going to get a little sag out of this when you put the sugar in there, because the sugar is pretty heavy. So with that done, I'm going to take a stapler. Pretty simple. I'm just going to go about every 3 or 4 inches and put a staple in across the wires. It would help if I line these up a little bit better. Over. So we got one side done. You know, you can use an air nailer if you have one. I do, but it actually uses too big of staples. So this hand stapler works a lot better. I've got both sides, one in. It's a pretty easy project, really. One right down the corner. I think we're good. Put another in this corner here. Perfect. So we've got our box built. You can see our screens laid in, approximately a 1/2 inch off of the bottom. I'm going to take now, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to put my handles on. Oops. Really doesn't matter. I would take, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of them to get my center. And I'm only going to nail the one. And I'll wipe off the excess glue. Take the other one. Glue on it. Line it up with the other one on the bottom. Like I say, these don't have to be perfect. They're just to help me lift the box. I've put staples in them. And then what I'm going to do, I'll come back, I'll grab a pair of tin snips and snip these little staples off. I didn't bring the snips back out here with me. So that's how easy that is to make. Let me show you what it's going to look like once it's done. We're going to fill this with sugar. We're going to put our blocks in each corner so that the bees have access up to the top. I've cut 1/4 inch strips, and I'm going to lay these on top of the frame on the hive so that this sugar is not setting directly on the frames. We'll set our new box on top, and then on top of this will go, I have one other box, a super that I put on top for the winter, and in that super, what I'm going to do, it has a couple of holes in it so that the air can come up from the bottom, because I have a screen bottom in mine, and I'm going to leave that screen bottom all winter long. But what I'm going to do in that top box is, my wife's making a pillowcase for me, if you will, about 3 inches thick, the exact inside of this box, and I'm going to fill it with some dry sawdust, pine shavings, so that it can wick away any moisture and absorb any of that moisture in the beehive. So candy box is built. We'll come back to you probably in about a week or two and show you how to actually make the candy and put it in the candy box. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm hoping that information was useful. If so, please give us a thumbs up, share the video with some of your friends, and please subscribe. We'd love to hear from you if you have some comments or helpful suggestions for us. Other than that, have a great day. Thank you very much.